Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Reynolds Coliseum. We're now going to have start the press conferences for our first game. We're going to start with Kansas State. Coach Mitty, if you could please give us an opening statement.
Well, it was I think two really good defensive teams. I think we each had something to do with the struggles early in this game, and I think both teams really are sound in that area. I was proud of our group, obviously, when we've got a lot of players struggling. We just kind of stayed the course and just kept, we struggled getting the ball to Lee. She struggled finishing early in this game. But we kept kept our focus, I think, decently in those areas. And when shots weren't falling, that's been a little bit of the maturity of our team, is that when shots aren't falling, we dug deep today. I think that's something that this team has learned, not to tie their defense to their offense, and I think we're moving on because of that. We obviously don't win this game because we're sharp offensively. We just found enough plays, but defensively I liked what I saw, and we're moving on because of it.
All right, thank you, Coach. All right, the way this works is we're going to open the floor up for questions for the student athletes. We'll deal with the student athletes first, and then we'll go to Coach after that. So if you have a question, we'll ask you to please raise your hand, and we'll wait until you have the microphone before you ask your question. Let me remind you also at this time that you cannot videotape the press conference. You can take pictures, but you cannot videotape it. Let's go up front with Mitch here.
Yeah, Mitch Northam from the AP. Aoka, in the first half it seemed like their emphasis was trying to deny you the ball, even catching it in the post. What changed for you in the second half, and how were you able to kind of get free?
I think that was definitely just a struggle in the first half. I think things opened up more just as we continued to play together. I think, like Coach said, this was kind of a grind through a game, but we kept working hard, I think, is what helped us. And, like, the guards just continuing to work and move, I think, was the biggest thing in us moving the ball.
Can we go to Lindsay right here? Oh, I'm sorry, Cole. We'll get Lindsay and then Cole. Go ahead, Lindsay.
Yeah, I was going to ask, what was the mood like in that locker room at halftime, and who is it? Is it Coach that's the one who's doing the speaking, or the players speaking up? What is it like when you're down at half and have been struggling?
Riley, could you answer that, please?
Even if we are down, we also maintain like a positive attitude. When Coach walks in, we do clap, and we do celebrate like the little things that we've done. We try not to like dwell kind of on what we're doing bad, but like stay confident and maintain like that composure, so that coming into like the third quarter that we do what needs to be done.
Let's go in the back to Colton.
Similar question for Aoka. Did you sense you were able to kind of get them fatigued as the game wore on, or did you sense maybe some tired legs from Washington State out there later in the game?
I guess I didn't really think about that. I think coming out at half, I think it was like we knew we were still in it. We knew it was anyone's game. And like we've been in so many different game situations this year. So I don't think there was any question of whether like we were still in it or not. I think our mentality was like we just have to keep doing, like, sticking to our game plan.
Let's go back up to Mitch.
Yeah, Riley, not only did you guys kind of find your shooting rhythm in the second half, but you were better defensively too. What was the focus on the defensive end in the second half?
Watching film and doing scout and everything like that, we knew that they were really good spot shooters. So I think like coming into this game, we do play like a lot of zone, but like the emphasis on that was not to let them get like super wide open threes. And I think as the game kept going on, we kept working better together, and we got more confident as a team, so we were able to get those defensive stops and limit their three-point attempts.
Okay, any other questions for the student athletes? Let's go back to Lindsay.
I was going to say, you seem very kind of subdued right now. You just won a big game. I know you played a lot of minutes. Is it fatigue, or is it just kind of your personality? You just seem very
about 90 in the locker, 90 degrees in the locker room.
Oh.
So we just got out of a sauna, so we're.
Yeah, I'd say it's my personality. I think definitely like celebrating, like this is huge for us. But also I think, I don't know, I think I'm pretty like steady. I try to
Sometimes.
be. Yeah, sometimes, but yeah.
All right, any other questions in the room for the student athletes? Okay, let's go over to Gene.
This is for you, Yoko. You seem to position yourself better in the second half. What kind of changes did you make? Because you definitely got more rebounds in the second half than you did in the first half.
Yeah, I just think the second half we were just playing better, like as a whole, and I think if I can get better position earlier on like I know that they have bigger windows to get it into me, I think that puts me in better rebounding position. I think that starts like earlier on in the possession than just like when the shot goes up.
Any other student athlete questions here? Okay, let's check on Zoom and see where we're at with that. Jamie, are you there? Hello, Jamie. Should I try Nathan? Okay. Hello, Nathan.
Can you hear me?
Yes, who is this?
This is Nathan.
Okay, Nathan, great. Do you have a question for the student athletes?
Yeah, Nathan and Sarah, K-State Collegiate. Riley, it seemed like you had a little bit easier time, you and the rest of the guards, getting the ball into Yoki in the second half. Why do you think that was, and I guess how much of an emphasis was placed on that in halftime?
During halftime, I think there was like a lot of emphasis. Like we all know what a great player Yoki is, so we all do want to get her the ball. But I think in the first half, we kind of saw that there was like two people there, so we might have like shied away from passing the ball into her a little bit. So coming out in like the third quarter, we did put a big emphasis on looking at it more, seeing those small windows, because there were small windows to get her the ball, and we just wanted to be able to do that for her.
Do you have any other questions for the student athletes, Nathan?
No.
Okay, thank you. All right, let's try Tim. Hello, Tim, are you there? Tim, are you there?
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can. Do you have a question for the student athletes?
Yeah, I do. Yoki, when you started getting to a rhythm a little bit there in the second half, just how did that feel for you, especially after kind of some ups and downs in that first half?
Yeah, I think it was just something to keep building off of, like every possession. I think our defense was better the second half, so having that too, I think it was all just like, okay, let's just keep building.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, ladies, that is all the time we have for student athlete questions, so you are excused. Again, congratulations and thank you.
Thank you.
Might want to take a look at that game clock to see where. Oh yeah, nice.
Okay, at this time,
We got
we'll go
11
ahead and
minutes. We got 11
open,
minutes.
open the floor up for questions for Coach Mitty, and we'll do it in-house first. So if you have a question, please raise your hand, and we'll get you a microphone. Should we go to Mitch up front?
Yeah, Coach. I guess kind of the same question I asked to Yoko. You know, what worked in the second half that didn't in the first?
Well, we tried to get a little different lineup out there, you know, in terms of they weren't guarding Ebert, they weren't guarding Mackey, they didn't guard Simone, so, you know, and trying to put a better shooting lineup out there where they had to stretch a little bit gave us a little bigger windows out there. So Dallinger got a look. Dallinger didn't shoot the ball well, but they know she's capable of knocking some threes down, and so I think it stretched them a little bit. The other adjustment that we tried to make was a little more middle of the floor with our entries. And then with the players they weren't guarding, Goodrich had a really good stretch at the end of the third, start of the fourth, because she shrunk the floor down herself, getting closer to Lee, so she was able to make some plays in there. So I think, it wasn't a great offensive game. I think what we talked about at halftime was that there are windows in there. You've got to show a little more discipline. You've got to show a little more poise and be more decisive. I thought we were indecisive in the first half.
Any other questions for Coach Mitty? Go back to Mitch.
The defense was also much better from you guys in the second half. I think you didn't allow them to make a field goal in the last 5 minutes of the game. Did defense kind of come easier once you got the lead?
I think confidence, I think both ends. I thought what Briley alluded to was kind of the rhythm defensively. I thought we had a good feel for where they were trying to get their threes. I thought our switch outs were good. I thought our communication was good. I thought we were mixing things up enough to keep them off balance. But, as a coach, you can mix things up. And if your players aren't on point with communication, if they're not locked in to the action, all the stuff that you can draw up on a whiteboard doesn't matter. Our players really, I think, just continued to grow in their confidence. I thought, one of the things that we wanted to do was Briley alluded to running them off the three-point line. I thought we made them shot fake and step aside on some plays. We were committed to guarding the three. And, they got the first three. And we have a saying that there's a difference between pressure and posing. First three they got, you guys could have got a great picture of us doing this. After that, we were flying, and we were making them bounce the ball. So our players really played well in that area.
Any other questions? Go ahead, Lindsay.
I guess it's also kind of the same question I asked Yoki for you. I think this was her first NCAA tournament victory, if I'm correct. So what is it about her personality? Does she get high? Is she?
She does, but her coach played her 38 minutes and 53 seconds, so I think she's a little tired. So I didn't get her a lot of rest. Forgive her for resting during the press conference. It's the only time she gets to rest.
It's just we don't get to see.
No, she is. One of the things that's great about her is that there's not anybody in the locker room bouncing around, hugging everybody more than she is. And I think that, but she really is the best balance of, she's got a mean streak between the lines. And then what you see here is just she's pretty chill and pretty relaxed outside of it. I'm sure she's. I know that she wanted to play well, and I know that she wanted this victory, as they all did. And she was preparing. You go to our preparation last night. She was preparing all the way till 10 o'clock last night to get ready to play well today. So we didn't necessarily play well today, but we're moving on, and we're one of 32 that's going to be doing it.
Any other questions in-house for Coach? All right, let's try again with. Hello, Arn, are you there?
Yeah.
Hi, Arn. Do you have a question for Coach Mitty?
They got in foul trouble with their posts, and how helpful was that? They kind of went smaller the rest of the way. How beneficial was that in getting the ball into Lee?
Yeah, I think it was helpful. Obviously it forced us to do some things differently at the defensive end, but I do think there were bigger windows to get her the basketball in the second half. There's no doubt that the free throw line became a factor for us in the second half. We very intentionally were driving it hard at them. We very intentionally were trying to get every opportunity we could. I thought our group did a good job when we did get in the bonus of staying with attacking the rim and forcing those calls.
Any other questions, Arn?
That's it.
Okay, thank you very much. Tim, are you there?
Okay, am I still here? Hello?
Is that Tim?
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can. Do you have a question for Coach Mooney?
Hey, Jeff. Tim Eves and Mad Mercury. You guys most likely will get North Carolina State on Monday. Playing them already. What is that? How does that kind of change your guys' preparation as far as scouting them for Monday?
Well, if we get North Carolina State, that was kind of a lifetime ago in basketball terms. I mean, I think it was our fourth game of the year, maybe fifth game of the year. You have some familiarity because you've seen them live in terms of personnel, but in terms of what they're doing now, where they've evolved to, I haven't seen them play much. I will dive into that as soon as I'm done with you fine folks, and dive into that as quickly as I can. So, as you know, Tim, that was, I think, a Friday in the preseason NIT. So we were a young basketball team. I thought we came in and competed well, but boy, we sure couldn't stop them. And defensively, we could not stop them. It was not a. It was actually a good message to our group going back to Manhattan back then, because we needed to improve and we needed to do it quickly. So I'll be curious to see more North Carolina State here going forward, if that's who we get on Monday, which, the odds are pretty good, but they still got a game to play.
Any other questions, Tim?
I'm good, thank you guys.
Okay.
Thanks,
Nathan,
Tim.
are you still there?
I am.
Do you have a question for Coach Mitty?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Coach, you mentioned Dollinger a little bit earlier, and she didn't light up the stat sheet, or at least she didn't score super well, but how important was her willingness to drive the lane and draw fouls?
Yeah, her plus minus is plus 11 on the day, so her value wasn't showing. I think her value showed in what I mentioned earlier, Nathan, in that I think they felt like they needed to guard her more, so there was bigger windows. I also thought she moved the ball fairly well, and while it doesn't show with a ton of assist, some hockey assist, spacing of the floor, and then defensively, I thought she really played well. She took a big charge in that second half, so I thought she had a very good game and did some things that don't show up on the stat sheet.
Any other questions, Nathan?
Nope, I'm good, thanks.
Okay, thank you. Colton, did you have one? You're good? All right, Coach, that's all we have
All
time
right,
for.
thank you.
Thank you very
guys.
much, and congratulations.
Thank you.
We should be starting the Washington. Begin the Washington State portion of the press conference. I'd like to remind you once again, it's okay to take pictures, but please no videoing of the press conference. This time we'd like to ask Coach Etheridge to make an opening statement.
Yeah, I mean, just really sad and disappointed in how we played. K-State was awesome in the second half, made great adjustments, and just really got us standing still. I thought we really lost some opportunities in the first half to extend our lead, and just that just was glaring to me with some turnovers that we had and trying to do too much at times. But again, just a hard game to compete in. You know, you hold a really good team to 50 points, you think you're going to have a much better chance to win, and we just had one of those nights where our best shooters didn't always shoot it very well. So congrats to K-State. Really proud of our team for being here and fighting like they do on a daily basis, and disappointed that we didn't do a better job today.
Okay, at this time, we'll go ahead and open the floor up for questions for the student athletes. If you have a question, please raise your hand and wait until we get the microphone to you. Colton, go ahead.
For either of you, how would you kind of assess the shooting struggles tonight? Was it, getting the looks but not falling, or was there something about Kansas State's defense that was kind of,
Crystal, or you want, go ahead, Charlie, so if you're ready. No, that's fine, you're fine. Go ahead.
I would just say, we did get a lot of good looks, and just looking at the stats here, obviously we had a really poor shooting night, and I think, especially, shooters on the team, myself included, we got a lot of looks that we usually get, they just didn't go in. So, yeah, I think for us, that's just, getting in the gym and getting up those shots every day, being more consistent in that area. I think throughout this year that has been a problem for us some games. When we go cold from the three-point line, we kind of struggle getting into different looks and getting into the paint, that sort of stuff. So, yeah, I think today we got a lot of looks, we just didn't knock them in.
Other questions for the student athletes? We go up front to Mitch.
Yeah, Mitch Northrup from the AP. For either one of y'all, what do you think worked defensively in the first half that didn't in the second half?
Crystal, could you answer that, please?
Yeah, our coaches had a really good game plan for us, and we had some different schemes to try, stop both Lee and Sundell and the Glens and, all their great players and weapons that they have. And, yeah, I think in that second half when we just, weren't scoring as much and we were kind of struggling to get ourselves back in the game, we maybe took some risks that we shouldn't have, or we kind of just, got a little bit flustered. So, yeah, we had a great plan in place, but, yeah, we did really great at sticking to it in the first half, and just we had some lapses in that second that kind of hurt us.
Any other questions for the student athletes? Back to Colton.
Did it feel like at any point later, after that first half and kind of a grinder of a game, did fatigue start to set in a little bit in the second half?
I don't know if it was fatigue as such. I mean, I'm a person that's always like the mentality, you're never fatigued and those things, and we're kind of coached that way, like it doesn't matter how your body's feeling, you're going to keep going and all those stuff. So I don't really think it was fatigue as much, but yeah.
I think it was just our decision making. I mean, and yeah, you probably could say that ties into fatigue, but I don't think that's really an excuse that we should use. I think we just had poor decisions in the second half, and then that just kind of, stacked on top of each other, as well as defensive lapses, and it all just kind of compiled, and that's why we kind of struggled really in that third and fourth quarter.
Let's go back to Colton.
I know it's a tough kind of an emotional moment right now, but, just kind of reflecting on being able to play together as sisters, and you talked about you didn't know if you would, didn't think you would, and being able to share in all these special moments, just kind of, I know it's just right after the last game, but, what can you just kind of take away from that whole experience?
I'll go first since I'm the one leaving. Yeah, I mean, just a lot of emotions. So proud of not just how Charlize has come into this program, but all of our young players and how they've stepped up and, you know, really made a mark. And I think that's always been my goal and the goal of our team is, as I've been saying over and over again, we want to be in conversations, you know, on the national stage. We want our team to be, like when people talk basketball, we want Washington State to come up in those conversations. So, like, really proud that we've gotten to this point, and that's kind of bittersweet for me that, you know, we have, our program is on the rise and we have a lot of great recruits and a lot of the girls here staying that, you know, we're going to keep building that. So for me, really proud of that. Definitely sad that, you know, I couldn't help our team get to that next stage and I won't be able to be here, but I know I trust Charlize with anything, and I know that she and all the other girls will be back in the gym, and me and Charlize will play together somewhere down the road, so we're not worried about it, and it's not like, you know, I'm never going to see her again, so it's not too bad.
Yeah, and I think from my perspective, obviously I'm still here. It's more the fact that, you know, we're losing three great, like really great leaders. Obviously Crystal on the court, you can't replace that. She's our on-court coach. She calls the shots. She's the hardest working person out there, and that's going to be really hard, you know, to replace. And also in Mick and Shear, you might not see it in the game on the court, but, you know, they're just so solid for our team. In our trainings, in the locker room, you know, their voice is something we all listen to. You know, all the girls look up to them. They're the best role models we could have asked for, and that's going to also be really hard to replace. And so we're definitely going to miss them. But, you know, as a team, that's normal. You lose people all the time, and you have to find a way to come back, bounce back, and refigure everything out within your team.
Okay, let's go back in the middle there.
Obviously not the way you guys envisioned your season ending here, but you can look back and say this is the second straight trip to the NCAA tournament. What does that kind of accomplishment mean? I know, Crystal, you touched on that a little bit, but, I mean, this program is really starting to be something impactful in the Pac-12 and on a national scale. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, we are kind of finishing at the same point we did last year, but if you really reflect on our year and some of the big games we had and how we did kind of all year round, I definitely think that, you know, we've taken strides and steps forward, and yeah, so I just definitely not how we wanted to go out, but as I said, kind of bittersweet in terms of, you know, what we have been able to achieve. And if you're really a part of this team and you pay attention to us, you will notice that our program is on the rise and we have a lot of growth, and we've made a lot of growth this year, even though, you know, it might not show it from how far we've gone, but yeah, definitely think this team is on the rise, and I'm excited, you know, for them to keep coming back to these tournaments and keep making some noise for our Coug family.
Yeah, and I probably would just add, you know, Coach was talking in the locker room, we're going to celebrate this year and we're going to be really proud of what we've achieved, but on the backside of that, you know, we can't be satisfied with just getting to the tournament. Obviously that's a big achievement. Second year in a row is, you know, amazing for us to get back here, but it's now taking that next step and getting past this first game, getting past this first round, because I think, you know, we're really capable of doing that. But yeah, it's just getting in the gym and having that mentality every day, knowing that, you know, we can do this, and it wasn't just, you know, luck last year or luck this year. You know, we've proven that we can play and compete and get to this level. We just need to figure out how to get past this and get to the next step.
Any other questions for the student athletes? Okay, we've got one person with their hand up on Zoom. Jamie, are you there?
Hi, Jamie.
Yeah, I'm here.
Hi, do you have a question for the student athletes?
I do.
Go ahead.
Girls, obviously an incredible season for you yet again. Just kind of looking at this game, though, as you've talked about, just some shooting struggles, just 16 points in the second half. Was it something they changed in their defense, or do you think it was just coming down to they did something different, you just couldn't get the open looks you wanted?
Crystal, could you start?
Yep. I mean, you know, we saw that they went zone in the second half, and they kind of went away from their man defense. And I think, you know, we kind of were flourishing, you know, playing out of like our man sets, and I definitely think once they went zone and we couldn't, like Charlie said, make those 3-point shots, and we kind of got a little bit flustered in that second half with our decision making and things like that. I definitely think, you know, they changed some things up, and we didn't make the adjustments that we needed to in that second half.
I agree.
Do you have any other questions for the student athletes?
Yeah, one more.
Okay, go ahead.
Crystal, for you, as you said, kind of a bittersweet feeling that, you've done so much for this program, but obviously turning over the reins to your sister and to the players still remaining. But, it's something that when you look back in 34 years, you can look back on this and you look at how you kind of helped spearhead the change in a program's culture. Is that something that you can kind of take out of this, even though, as you said, it is a bittersweet moment?
Yeah, definitely. In exactly 34 years, I will look back and I will be, just so proud of how the coaches helped me, kind of turn this program around and the work that I've done. And I was just grateful to be kind of on the ride with them and, follow them here and really try to do something. And I didn't get as far as I would have liked with them and help them as much as I would have liked, but definitely, glad that I was able to be a part of it and was able to be a part of their kind of little coaching story and this program's history here.
Okay, I'm afraid that's all the time we have for the student athletes. Ladies, thank you very, very much.
Thank you. Go Cougs.
All right, we'll now open up the floor for questions for Coach Etheridge. We start front here with Mitch.
Yeah, Coach. I think you said yesterday, you hadn't seen a player like Lee, before this year. What was kind of the emphasis to kind of frustrate her? And it worked really well in the first half. What changed in the second?
Well, I think we got into foul trouble and had to go small a little bit. Fouls really mounted up for the two bigs that I put in. They obviously got a few good looks for her, and but every foul ended up in a shooting foul, and so the free throw. You can look, both of us were pretty awful shooting the ball, and shooting it from three. And the difference is, that kind of body, that kind of length. She's so good, better than anyone in the country that can catch it high and keep it high, and she gets a lot of calls on that, and that was really the difference. I thought they just got to the free throw line before the bonus right away, and that's how they scored a lot of their points. And that, point-wise, that really is the difference in the game. But I thought they did a really good job of maybe changing where they threw it to her. They adjusted well, and I thought they frustrated us a little bit on the defensive end, and we weren't as sure as we wanted to be when they were switching defenses, and just at some point you gotta balance that out, and you gotta make some shots from the perimeter if you can't score over her, and we just didn't do that today.
Any other questions? Okay, go back to Mitch.
Coach, before last year, this was a program that hadn't made the NCAA tournament in 30 years or something like that. This is your second year in a row. You had a winning record, competing in the Pac-12, a very tough conference. You're only losing, I think, one starter from this team. I mean, do you feel like this team is closer to getting over the hump, and how good do you feel about, kind of taking this momentum into next year?
Well, I really want to believe that our foundation is really solid, and I think losing the foundational pieces of our other two seniors that don't play a lot, Mick and Sheer, losing Crystal is a big loss for us. We have a couple of point guards that we're bringing in, and a couple of different kind of players that I think will, bring us a little bit more depth there. And but those are big shoes to fill. But I love the fact that we're still pretty young, and that we have everybody coming back, and now the challenge for that group is to consistently get better. I think recruiting will get better for us. We will continue to try to get a little bit more talent, a little bit more size, things like that you've got to keep doing to keep up with teams that have this kind of size. But again, we've got to really be proud of the fact that in 4 years we've taken a program that had not won very many games in the history of their program to competing in the NCAA tournament. So couldn't be more proud, couldn't be more grateful to get to coach that senior class. And I do. I have every great feeling and excitement about what I think this group that's coming back will bring to the table, and try to improve on, and try to continue this streak and take us further.
Colton, in the back.
I'll direct kind of a similar question to what I asked them. Kansas State's defense, or I guess would you put more of the shooting struggles kind of on yourselves and missing what you normally make, or kind of what they did in their adjustments?
Well, as a coach, I'm always going to be critical of myself and us not doing enough to help our team. It is unbelievably unusual to have our best three-point shooter go, 0 for 10. We missed some layups. Again, I think the opportunities that we missed in the first half, instead of having, a little bit of a lead, I think we could have been up 12 or 14. And I think, those are the ones that I look at that you can start figuring things out in the second half, and you can manage it if you don't, when you go dry. But disappointed in how we responded. And again, I'm going to look at me first and my staff first and figure out ways to be better for our team. But I don't care. Again, it's still the same point. We held a really good team to 50 points, and you've got to, whether it's the coaches, and it certainly is in some ways, and the players, as far as what we've got to do to get better, we've got to learn how to score the ball better.
Any other questions here for Coach? Let's go back in the middle there.
I know you've kind of touched on outlook going forward and reflecting on the growth of the program going forward, Coach. But what's kind of the message going back into the locker room, after this loss, and then going forward, going back to Pullman, and how, like, when you start to get back to work, what's the message to build on this even further?
Well, I really feel good about our team and the competitors that are in that locker room, and obviously their commitment to getting better and their work ethic. I think we do a really good job as coaches as far as player development and putting in some workouts that will help continue to grow our team. There's certain spots on the floor that I think are going to be rock solid for us. I think there's huge growth that our players will and can make. And that point guard spot's going to be a concern for ours. We've got to figure that out. And again, maybe recruiting's never over, so we've got to continue to find ways to get better. But the work ethic in our program is really solid. The commitment, the excitement to do that. Obviously, we'll take some time off. There's not much time between when we get back to from the Final Four to school finals and stuff like that. So there's very limited time to be in the gym with them. But I have a ton of confidence that this team is hungry and not satisfied. And yes, we will celebrate it. We're going to celebrate last year's team because I don't think we did enough, and this year's team at some point. But we're never going to just live on that. We're going to also celebrate and look forward to the future.
Colton?
What would you call that defense you were playing on Lee with the zone help, and how well did you think you executed, and then kind of on top of that, how crucial was Ula?
We just had a couple of different coverages. We helped from the backside in some cases, and then we sagged off of players that were kind of reluctant shooters. And, they're a little bit like us. They have some kids that just aren't shooting it well, and I think everybody that's been successful against them has found a way to take Lee away and make others people beat them. And I think we kind of did that. When you consider 50 points, that should be enough to win a game. It's just we weren't good enough to get to 51. And so, again, I think we had a couple of plans, and given the fact that we lost a little bit more of our size with fouls and had to go super small on Lee, I think that hurt us. But I thought it would counter on the offensive end because it put more shooters on the floor, and it just didn't for us. So, again, she's a handful. She's really good at what she does, and they know how to get it to her. So it's credit to them.
Okay, we have a couple minutes left, and I've got a couple people on Zoom, I hope. Jamie, are you still there?
I'm here.
Do you have a question for Coach?
Yeah, I got a couple.
Go ahead.
Coach, first and foremost, congratulations on another fantastic overall season. You mentioned Yo going over from 3, and it didn't seem to have the depth scoring tonight behind the sisters. How much does that change the way you can approach offense when really, 90% of your offense is really coming from Charlize and Crystal?
Yeah, I mean, Jamie, thank you. By the way, and I mean, it's been our struggle all year. We haven't shot the ball well enough. We don't have enough depth of shooters. I mean, you look at the people that are going to win in this tournament. I mean, everybody plays pretty good D. Some are better than others, but gosh, people can stretch the floor and people make timely threes, and we have a lot this year. And when we win, we make threes, but we're too reliant on one or two players, and that's about recruiting. That's about our bigs getting better and being a presence in the post. We didn't really have that today. So I think we can get better at every position on the floor, and in part that everybody in our locker room needs to be better, and we need to recruit people that can put the ball in the basket. So I love the fact that you can basically tell our team to watch the games from here on out, and you're going to, people are going to see that there are a lot of teams that can really affect winning. And you got to have some depth to affect winning, and we just are a little bit too pencil thin.
Did you have one more question, Jamie?
Yeah, I had one more. Bella only plays 13 minutes. Obviously, fouls a big part of that. But coming down the stretch in the fourth, were you just trying to go small, or was she a little banged up from that elbow she caught early?
No, I mean, I just thought that we could stretch the floor a little bit better. I'll second guess a lot of things. She just got a little bit anxious in the first part of the game and tried to do a little bit too much. Again, she's got to be better in the future, and she has so much willingness to work at her game and to try to get better. And part of her thing is going to be, learning how to stretch the D and get a little bit more range on her shot. And I think this off season you're going to see a different player next year, and she's going to be able to stretch the floor a little bit more than she does, and will be very comfortable doing that. So I can't wait to see what Bella will look like next year. She's a very hungry player that wants to be great, but tonight just felt like we didn't have enough, people that could shoot the ball and needed to go to that. But like I said, well, I'll second guess myself all the rest of the week.
Okay, thank you, Jamie. Brenna, are you there?
I am.
Hi, Brenna. Do you have a question for Coach?
Yes. Coach, you coached Crystal for 4 or 5 years now, I believe. Just kind of talk about her as a player and her impact on I guess both of the programs that you coached at.
Right. I mean, that's when she walked in the door at Northern. She was not a complete player yet, or a complete leader, or a complete bought-in, but she had a will to her, and she could will herself past conditioning tests when she hadn't trained. I mean, she has a will to her, and she has an IQ, and she has a toughness, and that came with her the first day that she got there. She changed our program at Northern. She helped us have kind of a real championship season in that year, that second year that I coached her, and look at what she's done here. She comes in, sits for a year, watches the Pac-12, wanted the challenge to play at the highest level, which is typical of her, but she got to sit, and then the opportunity to come in and play with her sister, and then COVID happens. She gets to play 2 years. I'm so happy for her. I'm so happy that they got to play together for 2 years. I love that family. I think they are just such good people and such great competitors, and they want to win. They love what we're trying to do at Washington State. They're kind of those gritty people that have a chip on their shoulder. And again, what she did for Northern and turning that program around and making us that, and then turning us around at Washington State, it has a lot to do, and she carried a lot of weight. It has a lot to do with Crystal Ledger-Walker. So proud that I got to coach her. Thankful I get to continue to coach her sister, and I'm so excited and grateful for just knowing that family and getting to kind of do this thing together.
Okay, I'm afraid that's all the time we have for Coach. Coach, thank you very, very much.
Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.
A recording of today's press conferences will be available in the NCAA Digital Media Hub at www.ncaa.veritone.com. Transcripts are provided by ASAP.